Well, we're on the phone with two NES champions, and I felt the need to talk about NES because I see that on the boards all the time. I see new world records for NES, and we see world records for arcade. Arcade's popular in the Twin Galaxies board, but other than that, it's NES and arcade. So we're talking about NES a little bit. You know, we want people. Nintendo Wii's been getting some love, like we've been talking about. But there seems to be a special feel about NES. Like people will submit scores for 4th place and 5th place. You know, a lot of gamers, they ain't going to send a score in unless they're 1st place. But for the NES, I don't know, there's something magical about it. And we're going to talk to Rudy Ferretti and Tom Votava, NES champions across the board, multiple world records.
Well, you know, it seems to me, Mike, that the arcade might be some of the most coveted records for Twin Galaxies, but I would say it seems to me that NES is the most coveted of all the console records.
Of systems.
Of systems, yeah. Of consoles, for sure. But that's why we got these two on the phone, right?
Yeah. No doubt.
Now, did you two intentionally decide to compete, you know, almost solely on the NES platform, or do you compete on all the platforms and NES just happens to be where you found the most success, or just your favorite, or the ones you feel like sending in?
Who wants to go first?
Yes, that's what I was hoping.
Rudy, go ahead.
Honestly, you know, I came into Twin Galaxies, I believe, in like 2002, 2003, and you know, I didn't even think about the platforms. I just saw a couple of scores, and I decided to start submitting. I was like, well, I could tie that. I could beat that. It led into the NES, but NES was not my first choice when I came into Twin Galaxies. I can tell you that much.
How about you, Tom?
For me, I would say that most of my favorite games happen to be from the NES. I think if you looked at my collection at the time, I probably had about 100-plus games in that system and no more than 20 for anything else. So it just made it an obvious choice for me just because every game that I liked just happened to be there.
Dang, you have 100. Name your favorite 50 right now.
Let's see. Castlevania's all
You two both have records on other systems too, as well, right?
Right.
Yep, indeed. Mostly for other systems, I would say Super Nintendo, but I have a couple of arcade scores, Nintendo 64, etc.
Excellent. How about you, Rudy?
I think that the reason most of my scores were on the NES and why I think NES is so popular, though, now I think about what you were asking, I think NES is the first type of system of its kind. It had so many titles, but everything was very versatile, and every game that you play has a uniqueness to it. You know, every game is like an adventure in itself. You know, there's no other system like the NES because the games that were invented, they don't make any games like that before, and they don't make any games like it today. You know what I'm saying? So I have quite a few scores on the NES. I particularly go for oddball titles, though, obviously, as you know.
Why do you two think you found so much success on this particular platform? Let's start with Tom.
Well, for starters, I suppose it's because there wasn't too many scores out there when I first started. I was basically playing for first place against nobody. And eventually it became more competitive when other people joined on. But when I first joined 10 years ago, there wasn't too many NES scores. And I just kind of set out to just put something up on a lot of them.
Rudy?
I think I had a lot of success. I started, gaming when I was 6, and I didn't get as good as I was. I kept getting better every year, year after year, but I didn't get good until probably around 2002, 2003, and I think I've had so much success in that, with the heart and soul and the passion that I have for gaming, and I just put, all my passion, heart, and soul into the NES. And be honest with you, Tom Votava was one of the reasons why I got so serious on competing with the NES, trying to catch him over the years.
We've talked about how NES is obviously one of the most popular platforms for record submissions, but why do you guys think that is? Do you think it's because the games are so good, or do you think it's because so many people still own the games and they work, or maybe some other reason? What do you guys think? Rudy.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Tom.
Go for it.
I think that NES, like I said, NES was the first system of its kind. After Atari and all that, NES came to boot. Almost put basically all the Atari, gaming companies and stuff, in a video game crash, basically, right after, 84, when 85 and 86 hit, when the NES came out with Mike Tyson's Punch-Out and everything. A lot of us, including the people that play now, the generation that we play, like Tom Votava, myself, Andrew Ferrier, and other people, that's what we played when we were little kids. So, that's all we knew. And I think that's why it's so popular, because the Nintendo at the time was just the biggest thing going.
I would second most of that as well. Probably the other thing I would throw in is that as far as older games are concerned, things that have stood the test of time in video games, other than the arcade machines, I think the NES is pretty much the best out of everything that has come out. I mean, the Atari's been around longer, some of those older systems as well, ColecoVision, etc. But none of them really caught on. They were never this popular. And so that's why even today, the best games for the NES keep on getting replicated on Game Boy Advance or Wii Virtual Console. Even today, I just looked it up. I think the most Virtual Console games that have been created by one platform have been NES games.
I do have to ask, though, what out of all the records you made, what was the most fun? What game was the most fun to make your attempt at? I mean, what's your favorite game, I guess, out of all the ones you have records on, Tom?
Probably my favorite, I'd have to go with Legend of Zelda, doing speed runs. There's so much involved with that. I mean, I know it's not one of my current records, but it was one of my first, and I just remember figuring out a path to finish that game quickly was extremely interesting to me. There's all sorts of possibilities. I really like doing all the timing and the test variations of what kind of plan you do. And I just looked at it and said, okay, I think I had more fun planning it out than I had actually running the game.
I could see that. How about you, Rudy?
I think one of my most, enjoyable scores was to make, and it's going to be funny when I say this because the game is so friggin' hard. Probably A Nightmare on Elm Street, because I was such a big fan of the movies, and when I remember first playing that game when it first came out, and I couldn't even get 100,000 points, and I had to use all my continues to play, and now I could beat the whole game without even continuing. So it was kind of enjoyable.
Did you see the new Freddy Krueger movie?
I did, and I'm going to tell you right now, the retro is 20,000 times better. Always was.
That new one was a flaming turd, wasn't it? I couldn't stand it, man.
I mean, how do you compare? It's just some things sometimes that are new are better than the old, but for the most part, no.
No, and then Rorschach as Freddy, just no, thank you. It's horrible.
I know. Anybody could
I was gonna say, it sounded like he just played Rorschach.
Yeah, it was. Somebody took a dump on a camera. And Tom, I gotta ask you too, if you could give it all up, all the records, everything in your life, to wake up tomorrow morning and be Link, would you do it?
I wake up in the morning
and
do
you're
what?
Link. You're no longer Tom Votava. You are Link. You live in Hyrule. You have the magic sword. You are Link.
Funny.
Would you give it all up?
If I could do that, would I do it? I don't know. I generally like my life as it is. I just use the game as a diversion. So waking up in Hyrule, that actually would be some sort of twisted dream.
Right on.
That's a good answer.
It is a good answer. You'll stay Tom Votava, and you'll pretend you're Link on the game like the rest of us do.
It's a good call. Have you seen an Octorok, man?
Good call.
It's not something you want to see.
Plus, you're just always chasing after this princess that you don't even. Do you even like her? I mean, that's what I was thinking with Mario too. I'm like, does he even like this girl?
He hasn't met her.
Exactly. She's been captured his entire existence.
She's been with Koopa more than she's been with him.
I wouldn't be surprised if she ended up with Koopa at the end. Really.
Yeah, I has that syndrome they talk about in Die Hard. What do you call that when? Stockholm syndrome. Where she wants to go back and hang out with the Hammer Brothers and stuff. She goes and visits the Fire Brothers in jail.
Yeah, that's why at the beginning of every game she's like, no, don't kidnap me.
Don't kidnap me. I want to stay here and live with this plumber. He smells like feces and dresses in overalls. Sorry.
Poor Mario.
Yeah. We digress. What to you is what is the holy grail of NES records? If you could only have one record and no one's ever going to beat it, What to you is the most coveted NES record? Go ahead, Rudy.
I would say the most. It doesn't exist, and who knows if it'll ever exist. And I'm going to try for it one day. And probably, Tom, you're going to laugh because it's probably nobody could do it in the world. I think the most amazing and most famous record to have of all time, because I don't think it's even doable, would be to get 999999 on elevator action for the NES. I mean, you get that, nobody's touching that.
Beautiful answer. How about you, Tom?
Holy Grail of a score that we've set, or just something in general that we think is
just
impossible?
The one score you wish you could have. The one score. Maybe you do have it already, but the one score that you think is the most coveted of all NES records, that is you get the most street cred, the most screen cred for out of any NES record.
Honestly, I think it just shows in the number of submissions, but it's probably NES Tetris. Anybody that can put up maximum score on that one. There's just been so many submissions on that. A lot of people trying to play level 19 as best as they can. Most of us just getting to that point, and that's when we die.
Yeah.
And I just looked at that and said, okay, people really want that score more than anything else.
And level 18 is that much easier than level 19. I mean, just in case some people that are watching, listening don't understand, I mean, 18 is like cake compared to 19. Once you get to 19, it's like you can't even control the blocks. So like I said before, that's an amazing score in itself. But like you said about, to me, each record in itself is special. So when you ask me like what would be the Holy Grail, when I mentioned that one score for elevator action, I'd say every score that both me and Tom have put up, and I'm sure Tom will agree, they're all special in themselves, depending on what time of the day we did it, what the reasoning was behind it, the date, the time, all that stuff. I think it all factors in.
So you think there's not just a quality, but a quantity thing, thing that's important too. It's a good mix of quantity and quality that gets you the true screen cred.
Well, yeah, to be the first ever to max out a score, on a certain game, or to do it on a certain holiday, like, I did Home Alone, during Christmas time, things like that. I think sometimes I like to do crazy things on crazy holidays. So I just think everything's special in itself,
Okay, kind of in the same vein, I have to ask you, what is your one dessert island game? That's an inside joke with us right now. I'm sorry. No, if stranded desert island, what's the game you're taking? Only one choice.
And you don't have internet or mail, so you're not sending in a score. You only get one game that you get to play
with
forever.
one video game the rest
So
of
your life sucks because Twin Galaxies is gone. But you do have.
There is one power, there's a plug in a tree.
Yeah.
And a cake.
Okay.
There's a cake there too.
Plug it into. Okay. Probably for me, and this I know this kind of deviates from the whole NES concept, but probably arcade Mario Brothers is my Desert Island game. Just because that game never gets old. There's always something different that surprises me every time I play it. And I can't say that about too many games, quite honestly. There's a lot of them out there that there's a pattern, and you learn what the pattern is. Sometimes it takes a long time to figure out that pattern, but once you get it, you've got it. Mario Brothers just isn't that game, and that's what I love about it.
How about you, Rudy?
If you're going to put me on an island with a game of choice, I mean, so many, of course, I could sit here all night and tell you at least 5, 10. I know it's got to be one, honestly, and it's not even, one of my favorite games. Probably Viaga's Tactical Gladiator for TurboGrafx 16, due to the fact that, number one, I've never finished it fully, and two, that game doesn't get boring.
That's a very cool game.
I never thought about that. Picking a game you've never beaten is actually a good idea. Instead of just picking Contra or whatever, they wipe out in 20 minutes.
That would be your game,
Of course that's my game, but I mean, I'm just saying.
It's the only, it's the only game he's good at.
I don't have...
No, he's not that good.
I don't have...
Are you guys currently working on any world records? Any big ones? Rudy, you can start that one.
Well, I just did Contra for the NES the other night. I haven't publicized it yet on YouTube or anything, so I maxed that score out. That was not easy. I mean, the game's not hard, but the repetitiveness and to have the willpower to do it for hours, is really rough. And Gotcha for the NES is what I'm working on, which I'm getting my butt kicked every night. So.
What about you, Tom?
I think that this doesn't quite count as a world record, but I'm trying to reach the kill screen on NES Donkey Kong.
Very cool.
There's 133 levels in the game. You have to do the barrel stage, the elevator, and the rivets 3 times each to do it. And it's a really long game. You only have 4 men to do it, and it's very taxing, to say the least, trying to get all the way through that. I've come close several times. The closest, I think, would be level 127. And in the process, I can break my record score. That's not the issue, but I just want to reach that kill screen and be able to just say that it's been done.
Very cool. Very cool accolade.
No, that's good.
There seems to be something. The NES is my favorite system as well, you guys. I don't have quite the screen cred you guys do on it, but it's my favorite system as well. But there's something strange, in my opinion, anyway. Tell me if this is just me, about the NES, where it's really can be the most aggravating video game system ever created, in my opinion. Tell me, have you guys ever physically broken a controller and or an NES game? I mean, like crushed
TV,
the controller in your hand, or popped a game out,
Chucked it,
and chucked that thing right against the wall in your basement. I mean, just chucked it till it broke into a million pieces. Is that something you guys have ever done?
I mean, he's yes. Tom, you want to go first on this one because I have a story to tell.
All right, we'll save you best for last then. This is, for me, no, I can honestly say I've never broken any NES equipment from anger, but I've come close a couple times. When I was younger as a kid, I'm sure I've spiked a couple of controllers that I'd like to have back. But, they still work amazingly, so nothing.
Yeah, it's
nothing
hard to
broken.
kill those things, man. I've tried desperately, and they just always survive. It drives me nuts.
How about you, Rudy?
Yeah, I remember.
Well, I don't know if it was ever broken totally per se, but I've come pretty close. I will tell you a quick story. It wasn't the NES. It was the Super NES. I could have lied and said it was the NES, but I figured I'd be honest. It was the Super NES, and I was playing a game, and I was about to get the world record. Not only that, I got to the final end of the game with all my lives intact. And somehow, some way, I failed and lost all my guys on the last stage, which happens once in a while. I mean, I think if anybody can get to the end of any game is, special in itself. I mean, I don't have many games I cannot get to the final. I might lose, but at least I can get there. And I lost all 9 guys, took the controller, threw it in the other room, and also put a glass inside a bag and smashed it in the other room, and then came back, beat the game, and got the world record. I love the sound of breaking glass.
Awesome. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. World record.
Okay, so
In case record emergency, break glass.
so
Now we know your secret, though. There's going to be people trying this after they watch this show. There's going to be people who are like, I can't
nice
quite
sound.
get this record. I'm going to break some glass.
gonna go punch a window.
This is kids, don't try this at home. Or at least put it in the bag first, like Rudy told you to.
In a burlap sack.
Yeah, put it in a Ziploc bag.
Okay, so before the show, we had Rudy and Tom come up with 5 questions each to ask each other. Tom, you go first.
Question number 1.
Oh, that's right. That was sorry.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
We forgot to do that. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Do you guys have any questions of each other?
Now that we've brought it up,
Now that you brought it up, no, you guys did a good job of coming up with a good set of questions here. I'm trying to figure out
We did a
what
good
else
job.
I'm curious about it.
We'll leave that part in.
You have any questions for us?
What do you guys do when you're not
We
doing
live
the
here.
show?
This is what we do. We do this 24 hours a day.
Yeah, we do.
It kind of seems like
This
it
Neo
anyway.
Geo is just worn out back here.
Yeah, I mean, we host like 4 podcasts, right?
something like that.
Like
yeah.
Nick and I
Yes.
are on
Constant
4 or 5
podcast.
different shows. Making movies, doing shows.
We actually do 2 podcasts a day. We just only release 1 a month.
We do a couple live shows.
We do.
Tuesday
Tuesday
night, Wednesday night.
Yeah.
We do the Twin Galaxies live show. We do this show. So we keep pretty busy.
We're all workaholics anyway. So
I do have a question actually for Tom.
Ooh.
Actually, it's a good question. About 8 years ago, when I first came into Twin Galaxies, whatever it was, 8 or 10 years ago, I had a talk with Todd Rogers years back, and we talked about forming something with like all around gaming, which you guys have known, that you've heard on blogs and heard my complaints about how I see it and how it should be. But I have the question for Tom. Tom, as an elite NES player like myself, obviously you probably being the greatest right now of all time NES, world record holder overall, do you share any of my visions of seeing an all-around gaming league sometime in the near future? And do you agree or disagree and understand where I'm coming from when I feel that because we're such elite players and just like any other sports athletes, that we should get paid for all that we do, and it's unfair due to the fact that other people are getting paid, to go eat sandwiches at diners, drive-ins, and dives, and me and you are sitting home playing these systems, and we're the best in the world at what we do.
It's a nice little vision. I don't know exactly what it would take to get to reality. I guess I've always just thought of this as just a hobby. Even with everything that I do, it's really, I work for a living, and I'm okay with that, honestly.
Good. Cool.
Okay.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, you guys.
Are we going to
I'm
see?
sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mike. Are we going to see either of you guys at the Twin Galaxies Festival in November down in Ottumwa?
Sadly, I cannot make it. I'm going to be with family. They're flying in exactly that weekend, so it just didn't work out.
How about you, Rudy? Yes, no?
I'm still up in the air. I'm going to try to make it. It just depends. Right now, with my particular job, it's really rough because I'm either on call or I have a certain amount of days per week, so I'm kind of at their will, you know what I mean? So it's really rough. So it's hard for me to say, well, yeah, I'm going to take this day off, It's rough.
Well, we hope to see you
I
there.
don't know.
But,
Yeah, same here. Likewise.
Yeah, definitely sounds like a good time. I hope you guys just knock it out of the
Yeah,
park.
it's going to be fun. Walter's doing his best in his hometown. Or it's not his hometown. I always say that.
It's like the sister city.
It's his sister city of Fairfield, right?
is
Maybe.
it? No,
I don't
they
know.
border
I
each
don't know.
other.
Well,
Do they?
Yeah.
Couldn't you call that a sister city?
No.
No? Why not? Sisters live next to each other on occasion.
Okay.
Like, their bedrooms are probably next to each other when they grow up, so, why wouldn't Fairfield and Ottumwa be sister city?
Okay.
I'm just saying.
We don't want to waste any more of your guys' time with this, but thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun, too. And I got one more quick question.
Oh.
All right. Do you get what
All right.
system do you guys play in any third brand NESs? Like Yobos.
Oh,
Have you been seeing these around where they play the original cartridges?
Aftermarket, newer systems.
And
I have them all, and I gotta tell you, it's kind of like how can I put this? It's kind of like what Hyundai used to be. In '95, they sucked. Now they're one of the elite car makers in the country. Yobo started off really slow, but I gotta tell you, their third, fourth generation systems, they've come a long way. Of course, it'll never be like the NES. There is a differential in sound quality and color quality, but they've come a long way. And believe it or not, Tom, some of them play Castlevania 3 now.
There's actually some that don't. Wow, some kind of.
Most of them don't. No, most of them don't even play Castlevania 3.
Dang. Nope, it's not an NES. If it counts.
That's true. Depending on where you buy your replacement pin connector from.
Nice. No, I've never tried any of those systems. The closest I've come is I bought one of the Yobo controllers and tried to plug it into a real NES, and it didn't really work well. I noticed it was a little bit. It was a nice idea. The cross pad was a little bit more loose, so it would help with circular movements if it worked properly.
is it safe to say you guys have top-loading NESs?
I do.
I don't have one. The closest one that I was going to get was the Retron 3. I can't use it for TG, but at least, the Retron 3D, and this is really cool, Tom, really quick before you guys let us go. Tom, you should look into it just to have it for fun. You could play Genesis, Super NES, and Nintendo on it, and it takes our original controllers. So it's pretty cool.
Very neat.
It's really
So,
cool.
Rudy, you play on the old-fashioned flip top, put it in there? Wow.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Hold on.
And that's great, but
We're-
they just...
Yeah.
Not always the most reliable system.
It's
Yeah.
here somewhere.
My brother.
I bet he could get. I bet he could get more. I bet he could get more world records on him
Yeah,
if he
so,
didn't spend so much time.
I mean, have you guys? This is another question, just because as much as I love the NES, this is an issue with it. Have you guys ever been, you're about to get that world record, you're kicking butt on a game, and it freezes up on you?
Yep.
I don't think that's happened, at least not for a very deep run. I mean, it's happened when you first turn the game on and it's dirty, and somewhere after 5 minutes it freezes up maybe, but nothing serious.
I don't have your luck.
Yeah, well, he's got the top loader.
No,
though.
you do have a top loader.
So that is.
Yeah, I was really lucky.
all my other
top
systems.
loader, I got it from a pawn shop.
Awesome.
It's like
Congratulations.
Oh, beautiful.
All right, well, thanks for joining us again, NES champions Tom Votava and Rudy Ferretti, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. See ya.
See you guys.
We appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, guys.
My pleasure.
Thanks.
That
Take
was really
care.
fun.